And we are officially live. Hey everybody, my name is Wes.
My name is Matt.
And today you're joining us, Matt, for the not getting started live stream. I'm so used to saying that.
Because you do it every week.
No, you're joining us as we talk about giving.
Yes, the giving live stream.
The giving live stream. And there's so much to cover today in such little time. So we have got to get moving.
Yeah, this is a super important topic. That's why we're dedicating a whole 45 minutes or more, if it goes over, to talking about recording giving in your ChurchTrac account. Before we get into that, though, we have a few resources that we want to share with you and let you all know about so that you have it after the workshop. We have a YouTube channel that we would love for you to subscribe to. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link into the chat for that YouTube channel so that you can just click on it. Subscribe there. We have, I think it's over 200 videos. Actually, I can look at it right now.
Yeah,
it's 272. That's what it is. 272 videos that you all can watch about everything to do with your ChurchTrac account, like some how-to videos, past webinars like this one, and some other really cool stuff that we put together for you. So definitely subscribe. Also, we have a Facebook group that you all can join. Yeah. Tell them about the Facebook group, Wes.
So I always say that like a product or service is only as good as the community behind it. Mm-hmm. And we have a phenomenal community of church leaders just like yourself. There's over 4,500 people in there now. It keeps growing and growing, and we just started a couple of years ago for fun. So definitely join that. It's a great place to talk to other users and just bounce ideas off of each other and everything. But when it comes to getting like for real support, if you ever need to talk to someone about your ChurchTrac account in that regard, in the software, in any screen, doesn't matter where you're logged into, if you go to that help button in ChurchTrac, from here, you can actually go and browse all of our help topics or go straight to asking us a question. And so I encourage you, if you do have any questions, especially after this live stream, or if you're watching in the future, hello future, if you're watching the recorded version, you can always go to our support channel here and create a support ticket and reach out to us. Make it very easy to get in touch with us. So that is how you get help with ChurchTrac. Now today we're talking mainly about giving, and just a forewarning here, if you are watching on YouTube or Facebook, we're not going to be monitoring that chat at all. So the chat that we're using today, and also where we're going to do our Q&A and everything at the end, is going to be in that Vimeo link that we sent out to everybody. And we're going to have a dedicated time of Q&A. And I'm sure, Matt, we're probably going to have at least 40 or 50 questions. I know it's going to be a lot.
Absolutely.
So hold your horses on questions, because we'll be answering those at the end. But we'll have the chat wide open as we go here in Vimeo, just because we like to converse and not feel like we're just talking to each other the whole time. We want to talk to y'all. So we will be asking some things as we go through this. And today we're really going to be covering the 4 things. Number one, we're going to give an overview of the giving screen and just kind of go through like what it looks like, how to use it. And then we're going to get into initial setup, just the things you want to do in the giving screen initially, so that way you're set up for success. And then after that, we're going to dive into the core features, the things that really make up the giving screen in terms of what you're going to be using on a day in, day out basis in your ministry. And then we're going to wind things down with some amazing pro tips that Matt has got that I think are really going to help a lot of you take your giving to the next level in terms of just keeping track of all the things and so much more. So, Matt, are you ready?
I am excited.
Everybody,
I'm ready to go.
Are you all ready out there? Because we've got a lot to cover and such little time to do it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my giving screen in ChurchTrac, and let's talk about just kind of the lay of the land real quick. So when we get to the giving screen, and to get there, you select the actual screen itself in the menu there. We have all these different tabs, and the default tab is the contributions tab here, where it has all the different dates of giving that are going on, and I can select all these different dates to take a look at them and see the transactions that are on those dates. We have the reports tab. This is where all the different giving reports live. You pick your start date and your end date for the time period of a report, and then you can generate that specific report. And just FYI, many of these reports are exportable to CSV. We have our pledges tab. This is where you create pledge campaigns for your church, so you can do fundraising, everything, and track that fundraising. And so that's where your pledges are going to live. Then we have categories. This is how you specify all of your different income that's coming into your church, and obviously in this case our giving or donations. And so you'll want to create categories if you have not done so already. And then the online giving tab. This is where you manage everything for your online giving at your church, and we'll talk a little bit about this as well. All right. Well, let's go ahead. Let's get started talking about the initial setup, Matt. What is the first thing a church should be doing to get set up for giving?
Well, the funny thing about getting started with giving is that you don't get started on the giving screen.
Yes.
You get started on the people screen. Make sure that you've added all of your members and your donors to the people and family screen. You can do this in a few different ways. I'm not going to go into deep in detail. We cover this in our Getting Started workshop that we do every Tuesday and now Thursday, so you can watch that if you need more information. But you can add them manually. You can have them, we'll import it from a spreadsheet. You can import it from prior church management software, and there's this Add My Family QR code and link that allows your members to fill out a form and submit their information to your account. But you need to get your member information into your account first, because our system is going to pull that every time you record a donation for a person. And another little FYI, just for the churches that use an envelope number or a member number, Emily's profile over on the right, where's her member number?
Right there.
There it is. Okay, yeah, so it's just below the email address. Make sure you have their email, their member number or envelope number in that field there if that's something that you use at your church.
Yeah.
Once you have that done, then you can go to the Giving and Pledges screen and set things up there. So Wes, take them to the Giving screen.
And one thing I do want to point out, because I did this on purpose, you see that Emily's email here is struck through. So when you add your people data into ChurchTrac, you want to make sure that the data is good. And so in this situation, I need to probably edit her profile here and make sure that I have the proper email for her and proper phone number. Now, Emily is not a real person. This is not real information. I just want to make that clear. But then I can say, oh, you know what? I forgot to put, the 1 in her email, and then I can go ahead and select done, and I've updated her email. So that way, later on, when I want to send contribution statements via email, I can do that.
We'll talk about that in just a moment.
All right.
So once your member information is there and the member number is entered, then you can go to the Giving and Pledges screen. But again, before you enter any donations, next is to go to the Categories tab at the very top of the screen. Create categories. The categories are essentially labels that you'll use to assign or apply to each donation to label it according to its purpose. It's a long-winded way of saying for every little thing that your members can donate to, like not just giving and pledge, not just the tithes, but also like a love offering or a missionary or something like that. You create a category for that so that as you record donations, you can assign that category to that donation just to make it all report and generate properly. So create your categories after you've got all of your people information added.
And one thing I'm doing is I'm creating my categories, because at my church we use a new category for every year for just our general offerings, just because for pledges, and we'll talk more about pledges later. But you just want to make sure that you enable or disable different categories to display for online giving. Because if you don't enable them to display, they're not going to show up for online giving. So you want to make sure, in this case I've got my 2025 general offerings used for online giving, yes, and then I can have my main one here where I can edit the information to. So, and tax deductible is a big one too. So make sure if this is giving related, you put yes for tax deductible on those categories as well. So that is categories in giving.
The next thing to do, once you have your categories created, go to the Online Giving tab. If you're on your free trial, you won't be able to set this up yet. But if you've paid for a subscription in ChurchTrac, you can create an account with Stripe and link that to your ChurchTrac account to take donations online. You just go to the Online Giving tab. We have an article and a video that covers this in more detail, but you just go to the Online Giving tab on the Giving screen. You won't see this QR code yet. You'll see some paragraphs with more info about Stripe and a button at the bottom that says add or link a Stripe account.
Yeah.
Don't go to Stripe's website and create an account. Create an account through that button on your ChurchTrac account, because it will link it to your ChurchTrac account for you.
Yeah, that's a big important part, just because you want all those giving situations to happen through ChurchTrac and not be disconnected. So
yes, yeah, that's the benefit of doing it through ChurchTrac, is those donations online will automatically be recorded in your ChurchTrac account. So once you have those things done, you've got your people information added, you've created your categories, and you've set up online giving. Now you can begin recording donations on the giving screen.
So let's go ahead. Let's talk about entering our donations. So when it comes to entering your donations in ChurchTrac, you will go to this button here, this add button. And I do want to point out, anytime you have a date selected here, this actions button will then light up and you have all these different actions of different things that you can do on the giving screen. But in our case here, I want to create a new date, Matt, and I just want to create this date we're just going to call it today because we have our Wednesday night church, let's just say. And so I can say Wednesday church, and this is my batch date here. Add this date. So now I've got this date added. I am ready to start entering my contributions here in ChurchTrac. And so the way I do that is I select add contributions on the top right. And then it brings a drop-down menu where I can start entering the donations from all the different people that I've given to our church. And so I can just start typing out Ron, for example, and there we go. All my people start pulling up, and there's Ronald here. You can also search by member number if you want to search that way, and it'll pull the people up as well. As Matt said earlier, though, just make sure you assign member numbers to your people. And so then I can put the dollar amount here, $200, general offerings, or I can select a different category. And in our situation here, we've now moved to 2025 general offerings, so I can put that in here. And tax deductible, yes. And this automatically pulls in from the default for that category, which is why it's so important to set up your categories to reflect that properly.
Yes.
And then I could put a memo here if I needed to do that. If Ron gave with a check, I could put a check number here, and so I can just throw that in there, or if he gave with cash or some other way, I can put that in here and put that under the type.
Now, before you hit add this contribution,
Yes.
Deb asked in the chat, can you split a contribution? And the answer is yes, Deb. You can click that little plus sign to the far right of that line item to add another line item to that person's donation. So yes, you can say, let's say Ron actually gave $300, and the other $100 goes to like a missionary or to the children's ministry or VBS or something like that. You can select that category and split their donation across multiple things.
Yeah, and so then from here, I add contribution, and I'm done. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. We try to make it pretty easy to navigate, no matter if you're on a tablet, even on a phone, you could enter the stuff, but I always recommend doing this in a computer because it's just so much quicker. And then when it comes to entering contributions, obviously a big part of that too is entering contributions that come in the form of cash. And in ChurchTrac, to do that, instead of typing in a name, you actually just select add and then add it as anonymous / cash. So like your offering plate, donation box. And then when I select that, it automatically blocks out the name, and then I just put in the amount. So like, let's say we counted up our offerings for this Wednesday and we got $480 on there. I can put in that amount. It's going to our general offerings. And again, if this was a special event, maybe it was a love offering or something, I could select that too. And then here I'll just put under cash, and then I can even put a memo and say offering plate and add this contribution. And there you go. Pretty quick. And so to get out of this, all I just do is hit the close button, and I am out. I am out. So that is how you enter contributions in ChurchTrac. It is a process in which you just simply add your people in there, put the amounts where you want it to go, and you're done. Now let's talk about importing contributions, because this is a really big one.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask in the chat here, obviously we're not answering questions right now per se as much, but I want to ask you all right now, who in here is needing to put in your contributions for last year? So right now, at the recording of this, it is January. We have 23 days left until the deadline, I believe, to get contribution statements out. So who in here is needing to enter contributions for 2024? And I know there's going to be a few of you that are needing to enter all those and everything, because what I'm about to say or show you is probably going to save you hours of your life, at least for a few of you in here. And if I can save you hours of your life, that's a good day. So let's see, a couple of you, all right? So this feature here, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, this actions button, you select any date here. And whenever I select this actions button, I have all these different things I can do. And one of those things is I can actually select import contributions. Now that happened fast. I'm going to show it again just in case some of you didn't see that.
Yeah, because we're getting a lot of answers.
Import contributions.
Yes.
So for those of you who already have an Excel sheet of all of your giving data. You can actually export that Excel sheet to a CSV file. You can drag and drop that file into ChurchTrac. So in this case, I'd put like manual mode, drag and drop it in there, and then the system will automatically put in all those giving transactions for every single person, every single amount, all the categories, all that stuff. Which brings me back to the thing we were talking about earlier about setup. This is why it's so important to add your people in first and add in your categories and everything. It just makes life easy because then the system is able to just sweepingly do that, and then you're done. And so I've worked with so many ministries that already had an Excel sheet of all this data, and they were able to put in all their giving data from a previous year into ChurchTrac in just a few seconds doing that. So you can add new names to your database from this method as well. That is an option here and everything. So, and then the other thing worth mentioning when it comes to importing, ChurchTrac works nicely with some of the other platforms out there. So if you're using like Givelify or PayPal or PushPay for your online giving, you can actually just select those particular options. And when you attach that file directly from those different vendors into ChurchTrac, it automatically knows the formatting, the correct formatting, and so it'll put in all that data for you. So
cool.
Love it.
Love it. Makes it easy.
But it's still not as easy as online giving in ChurchTrac. That's the easiest.
Because you don't have to do anything.
You don't have to do any of this.
The system takes care of it for you.
Everything that we're showing right now is something that online giving will just eliminate the need for that. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and then another thing I want to show off just really quickly because it happens on occasion, and that is editing contributions. So there's no button for that. You literally just select the contribution you need to edit, and right there I can go ahead and I can edit the amount. Maybe I accidentally typed in the wrong check number. I can put that in there. Maybe I meant to put $300 instead of $200. I can do that. So there you go, and I can close it out, and now it's been edited. So,
perfect. The only thing you can't change is the person that it's assigned to.
Correct.
So if you accidentally selected the wrong Ronald,
yes,
you'd have to just delete that and enter that again.
Yeah. So if I wanted to enter Ronald McDonald instead, I'd have to change it.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So that's entering contributions. Matt, let's talk about reports. And obviously the big one is generating a giving statement. How do I do that in ChurchTrac?
Yeah, we actually had a few questions about that. Just because, and this is a good point, Gary Gray, I hope I'm saying it Gary or Jerry, said this was advertised as getting ready for sending contribution statements. Are we going to talk about contribution statements? Of course we are.
We had to talk about all the other things first.
This is how you get ready by entering your donations. That's step one. But if you have all the information entered, or once you have all the information entered, you go to the giving screen, click the reports tab at the very top, and then just set your date range. That's step one. It's already got January 1st. Right now it's got 2025, so put it at 2024 and then enter December 31st, 2024. And you're ready to go. Just click that View Report button and it'll have that report generated for you in just a few seconds for your entire church.
Yeah, so this is every single person that's donated to our church. This is their contribution statement. It's a lot of pages.
It's a lot of pages.
Tons of information here. And it puts in your church's address. It puts the person's address and everything in there. You can customize, just to show you, I'll zoom
message.
in. Yeah, you can customize this message and everything, letting them know whatever it is you would like to let them know. Other than in intangible religious benefits, no goods or services were received in exchange for these contributions. Really got to have that in there. So make sure you have that in there. By default, our system kind of puts that in there. So we don't recommend really changing that. So yeah, that's how you generate contribution statement.
Yeah, Laquita Austin asked, how do you get your tax statement letter to show your tax ID? You would just go to the settings feature, and under admin settings, you can actually customize that message, that header message, and other aspects of your report. So that's where you would enter that if your church needs that.
Yeah, and under report options, this is where you can change some of these things. And especially if you're in Canada, you can also put in your charitable ID for Canada. And also you can attach the, just skipped out of my brain there, the signature is another feature as well. Yep. So yeah. So that is just generating a giving statement. I mean, there's really all there is to it. I mean, it's not like there's all these crazy steps.
There's not other steps. The only other thing to point out is that you can send them via email.
Yes.
So under the people and family screen, this is what Wes was talking about earlier when entering member information. Make sure you have their correct email address on file. Because under the reports tab on the people screen, scroll down to the very bottom of the screen and you'll find a contribution statement report here. which will give you the same thing, but the difference is you have the choice between printing it or emailing it. And I love this feature.
Yes.
Because if Wes were to click that Send Email Now button, it'll actually give you a report that'll show you everyone who received it, everyone whose email bounced, and everyone who doesn't have an email address on file. So you'll know who got it and who didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of churches are moving this direction. My church, personally, we are telling everyone, and I know I'm kind of jumping the gun here, but telling everyone to actually log into the church app and they can download their statement at any time. And if they want a printed report or they would like one emailed, then all they have to do is reach out to us. And so the vast majority of our people are just going on the church app now and doing it.
Which you can do in ChurchTrac, or in Church Connect, I should say.
Yeah.
Because of ChurchTrac, you can do it in Church Connect. So yes, your members can log into their Church Connect account and see their own giving history and produce their own contribution statement any time of year, not just in January. It's not like we lock that.
Yeah.
They can do it anytime. So just recommend that to them. And then for everyone else that doesn't have an account or doesn't have a smartphone or whatever, you can just print those.
Yeah, and there are a lot of other reports too worth mentioning, and we don't have time to cover it too, but you can also have reports automatically be sent to people too. So if you, let's say you wanted to have like a giving history report sent to a few specific people on your leadership, you can actually have the software do that through automations and send reports like this. So check out those reports on your own time, and you can see a lot of them, and many of them you can also export to CSV. So if you're like me and you like to get a little crazy with Excel, or at least you know enough to be dangerous, you can export to CSV and do that kind of stuff as well.
And one point to make, Sonia asked this in the chat, and thank you very much, Sonia, for bringing this up. We completely forgot to mention this in our outline. Archived names will have a report generated for them.
Yes.
So yes, if you have like a guest come and you record them, you record their donation and then archive them because you don't want to have to pay for that person's information in your account, you'll still get a statement for them to send off to them whenever it's time.
Yeah, and just I want to show this because this is really important. A lot of times we have first-time donors that are they're only single donors at our church.
Yep.
Maybe they visited, they gave one time. All you have to do to archive a person is select them on the people screen, and then we have this actions button where you can actually bulk edit people. So if you have a lot of people to do that, or on the individual's profile, just select edit, archive, and then here I can put, why is this person being archived? I can just say one-time donor in this situation, and then type yes, and then archive them. And so this is great, and archive names don't count towards your people tier, so there you go.
But you still retain their info. That's the beauty of archiving.
Yep, and still generate those contribution statements, which we definitely got to do. All right, so we've talked about reports and just kind of briefly mentioned the other ones. I want to briefly talk about pledges. I don't want to get deep into this one just because we have so many other things to cover here. But in ChurchTrac, you have the ability to create pledge campaigns for your church. And this can be, Matt, we see churches do pledges for like their entire year, super common.
Yep.
We see churches do a pledge for a specific thing.
Yep.
And just to give you an example, I'm going to create a pledge. Now, before you create a pledge, you need to create a category for that pledge. And so I'm going to go ahead and create a category, and you'll probably laugh at this one, but I'm going to say elevator.
You're right.
So I was trying to throw you off today. Now, the reason I created that category, so elevators are expensive. And let's say your church has got to raise some money to buy a new one.
Yeah.
They're not cheap. So we're creating a pledge campaign for that. And so I'm going to call this the elevator fundraiser. And again, this can be like your yearly campaign too, whatever you want to name it. It just comes down to what you're doing a pledge for. And then I can select my category, and I already have the category. So I can say elevator, there you go. And then a campaign end date. You have to have an end date for all your campaigns. And so we can say maybe March 31st is the end date for this campaign. And then right here, we're done. We've got our pledge campaign created and everything. The one thing you do want to make sure of is that specific category, if you want it available on online giving, so going all the way down to elevator, just make sure if you want it available for online giving, you select that and everything. But now when people start giving to this, it's going to reflect that. And I can also put in these pledges. So back to my elevator fundraiser, I can start adding my people. And so we'll just put in here, let's say Ronald, he's one of our biggest donors. He said he's going to pledge $1,000 over the next few months to our elevator fundraiser. I can add that, and then I can just continue to add additional people. So like I can say Emily, she wanted to also pledge, she wanted to actually double Ron and say she's going to do $2,000. And so there you go. I just add all of these different pledges. And then as you record these, this is the beauty of this, how easy it makes your life. So I go back to like Wednesday church, and I'm going to add a contribution here. And I'm going to say Emily is one of our people here, and she gave $500. And in this particular case, she gave to the elevator, and she gave with a check. I can put that check number in there, add this contribution, there we go. So now when I go back to my pledges screen and I go to my elevator fundraiser, you can see amount pledged from Emily, $2,000, amount received so far, $500. So pretty great.
Love it.
And we have pledge overview report and stuff like that. Okay, so pledges, very quick, just wanted to show all that off. Now let's talk about online giving, Matt.
Yes, this is crucial.
Yeah.
So Wes actually has online giving ready to go, or he has a Church Connect app anyway, ready to go. So why don't you walk them through how to get there in Connect?
So I have already downloaded my church's app on to my phone here. And so you can see that by just selecting Connect here. I'm on my church's page. And then your people, they can log into your church app. And if you didn't know, Church Connect, it is a church website. It's a church app. It's built into ChurchTrac, and you can start using it today if you're not already. But from here, I can go ahead as a person in the church that wants to donate. I can say, hey, I want to give online. I select that. And here we go. I can start the process of entering my donation here as a church member and say I want to give maybe $250, and I want to give to my, let's say, the Forward Generosity campaign, and then I can enter a payment source, and then I can even add money to cover the credit card fees. We're going to talk about fees in a second. This is like a little soapbox I actually would love to get on. And then from here I can enter my payment details. And I can either pay with a credit card, or I can pay directly from my bank, because we offer ACH if you're in the United States. We also have Apple Pay and Google Pay too as options. I'm just not showing those here. But from here I can just put in my information, hit charge, and I'm done.
That's it.
Just gave online. Now let's talk about online giving fees. So in ChurchTrac, online giving fees, Matt will put this in the chat too, and we'll put it in the notes later as well if you're watching later on. But for online giving, if you're a nonprofit, you're a church, it's 2.2% plus 30 cents for credit card transactions. And ACH, the rate for that is a flat rate of 25 cents. I actually did the math a while back, and I think it was like $80 per donor per year. Was that it? It was like $80 a donor.
It was like $78 or $79, yeah, so almost $80.
Almost $80 per donor per year for a church that encourages their people to give with ACH instead of credit cards. Because if you do the math on a credit card transaction of 2.2% plus 30 cents, you're looking at what for a $100 donation? Let's do math here.
Well, it's $2.50.
Yeah, $2.50, and then you multiply that however many times they donate every year compared to ACH, which is just 25 cents.
25 cents.
Substantially less.
Yes, way less over time. So saves your church a lot of money, and that's money that you can use for ministry. If you do this for, what was it, a dozen? I think it was like a dozen donors that convert from giving by credit card to ACH, you save $1,000.
Yeah, and this is something, we don't make any money on online giving. I want to stress that. This is all those fees that I just talked about. That's through the merchant processor Stripe, who we have partnered with for this. And a lot of other church software companies actually have partnered with Stripe and other similar companies for online giving. Those are their fees. We don't do rev sharing. We don't skim off the top or anything. This is just something that we include in your ChurchTrac subscription. So just want to make that clear. And a couple other features that I want to talk about online giving that I think are super important. So I'm on the online giving screen here in ChurchTrac. And Matt, when it comes to sharing it, it's really just as quick as just taking my URL or my QR code, and people can give.
Yeah, you can either copy that QR, the URL, and add it to a text or an email, or you can download the QR code and add it to the screen during service or onto some printed material like your bulletin or the backs of the chairs and pews or somewhere out in the lobby. And therefore, and their members can just scan that, and it takes them straight to the donation portal that Wes was showing you.
Yeah, and one feature that will be coming out soon, it's not available yet, maybe in a month or two, whenever some of you are watching this in the future, it will be available, and that's the ability to embed the online giving form onto your existing website, so it doesn't even take them off your existing website if you're not using Church Connect. So, cool feature. Another really cool feature, while I'm kind of talking about sharing your online giving and everything, I think it's worth showing, right down here, you can kind of see some text here and some links. You actually have the ability to generate a QR code and link for a specific category.
Yeah, so if you're doing a fundraiser for a particular thing, you can leverage online giving to raise more money. So you can choose one of your categories and then even have like a recommended amount that will pull up whenever somebody selects that or scans that QR code. But regardless of what they give, they just scan that QR code or go to that link, and their online donation that day will go to that specific thing, not just to tithes and offering in general. I mean, you can have that category appear as an option when people give online, but this just makes it easy. It just serves it up to them.
And I see a lot of churches use this for like missionaries, love offerings, a specific type of event where they're asking people, hey, like if you would like to donate or something.
Yeah, or like a fundraiser for some big youth group thing that's happening in the summer, like a summer camp, scholarships.
Got to raise money for summer camp. Am I right?
Yeah, it's expensive.
So yeah, that's a really great feature. We have other options here and things. I just encourage you to kind of peruse through in your own time. Everything from you can require donors to log in to be matched. You can allow donors to give with ACH. You can have a specific giving fee category. We don't have time to dive too deep into that, but basically ChurchTrac will automatically know how much the giving fee is and put it in its own category. So it makes
track the expense.
Yeah, you can track that expense in your accounting and everything, which we're talking about accounting another day. And some other features and options here that you have available, like giving your donors the ability to help cover the fees.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a little toggle switch that they can turn on to opt into covering that fee. It doesn't actually cover the fee. Your church will still pay it out, but it'll add a nominal amount to their donation so that it balances.
Yeah, and that's a feature. I encourage every church to turn that on. And what was the stat? I remember a while back we read that, Matt. It was like
a couple years ago,
of donors.
It's over 60% will cover the fee when it's an option.
Yeah. So there you go. So that's an easy way. If you learned anything today in terms of saving your church money, especially with online giving, enable that, and you are going to cut your online giving fees in half because your people are going to be help paying for those. So.
Perfect.
Neat. So that's online giving. I guess the last thing I do need to point out here when it comes to online giving is maybe managing recurring donations. I don't have any in this account. This is a test account. But this is just an option for you. You probably will never use this unless you have like a particular church member who is just maybe struggling with technology to do it on their own accord through the church app. And then you can do that for them. And I've seen a few churches need to do that on occasion. So there you go. That was a lot to go through, Matt.
That was a lot. Yeah. And we did it. We did it in 32 minutes.
which is, we timed that perfectly.
We did. We nailed it. All right. So now we're going to transition from just the content and us talking a lot to Q&A. I'm actually going to shut down the chat here.
Whoa,
am I not?
We got some pro tips.
Oh, that's right. We do have some pro tips. How could I forget? So sorry, guys. I didn't want to leave you out of that.
Yeah, so
all right.
We are going to open up our Q&A in a minute, but we have some pro tips. And Matt,
jumped way ahead of myself.
You came out with these pro tips when I went to you a couple of weeks ago, just like, hey, what are some really important things that I think people need to know about giving? And these are the ones you gave me. So go ahead. Tell me the first one.
So pro tip number 1, lock your batches. On the giving screen, whenever you have a batch open and you've double and triple checked the numbers just to make sure that every I is dotted and T is crossed and all the information is correct, you can click that Actions button. And then right there at the very bottom of that list, there's the option to lock the batch. This means that you won't be able to edit that batch at all. You won't be able to change what's there, add anything, take anything away in the future. This is crucial for transparency and accountability and just security in general. That way you can't retroactively change something. Not that we want to accuse you or anyone else at your church of anything fishy, but this just keeps everything straight.
Yeah, and I like this just because it really does add a level of transparency that we need in ministry.
Yes.
So if that's something you want to utilize, lock your batches. The only way those batches can be unlocked is by reaching out to us here at ChurchTrac.
Yep.
That's how locked down it is.
Yes.
What's the other one you were talking about the other day?
Pro tip number 2, deposit your batches into the accounting screen. You don't need to do this twice. You don't need to enter the information twice. So when you select a batch, click the Actions button, and then, you've already locked this batch. So you need to go ahead and pick another one. So we can demonstrate this, Wes. Click the Actions button, and then the third one from the top is the option to create deposit. This allows you to transfer everything you entered here into the accounting screen. It'll retain the amounts and the categories you entered, but not the names, which is really handy for if you want like the pastor to see the accounting, but not see who gave and how much.
Yeah.
But this allows you to move it over to the accounting screen. That way you don't have to enter that information manually on the accounting screen.
Yeah, and this is probably one of the biggest common things I see when people are like, my accounting screen, it's going negative. Like, where's all this money I've been pulling from my giving screen? It's because they're not hitting that deposit button.
You've recorded it, but it's just sitting on the giving screen and it hasn't shown up in your bank accounts yet on the accounting screen. And someone earlier in the chat also mentioned when I was talking through like the setup steps, like wouldn't you do the budget next? Yeah, you can do the budget after you walk through the steps that I walked you through. And what's great about this is because it retains the categories, as you do that deposit, those donations will filter into the budget. So you'll actually see in real time what your position is in those things that people are donating to.
But we're talking about that next week with our accounting live stream.
Yeah, so sign up. If you want to get into accounting, we'll share a link to that soon. We'll share a link to that, won't we? Yeah, we'll share a link to that, and you can sign up and join for next week as well.
All right, now the other pro tip, Matt, and just to kind of piggyback on it, pro tip number 3, if you're utilizing our online giving, use the automatic giving deposits that we mentioned a little earlier. We've got a whole user guide article about it, and it just makes your life easier when you're tracking all those expenses for the online giving fees, automatic giving deposits and everything. It's just going to make less work for you because they're automatically just going to deposit over to the accounting screen for you.
Yeah, I just dropped the link in the chat for that article.
Now, this next pro tip, this is a big one because it'll save churches probably hundreds of dollars on average, Matt.
Yeah, if you are a nonprofit, don't forget to reach out to Stripe and ask them to apply their nonprofit discount to your account. We've negotiated lower prices. That's where we get the 25-cent flat fee for ACH donations. I think like their sticker price is 0.8% for ACH donations.
It is, yeah, I believe so.
But the nonprofit discount that we have with them is just the 25-cent flat rate. But also even the credit card transaction, the sticker price is 2.9%. Ours is 2.2%.
Yeah.
So reach out to Stripe after you've created the account and set everything up. When you set it up, you're going to have to submit your church EIN number and some other really basic information about your church. So they'll have that information, and then you reach out to them. I think you just reach out to like support at Stripe or maybe nonprofits at Stripe.
Nonprofit at stripe.com. And we have all the information here in our article. If you just look up online giving fees and our support, you're going to find the whole article that talks about online giving fees, everything you need to know. And there's that whole section there about Stripe nonprofit pricing. That's a big one. Now, the last pro tip, Matt, is you can use ChurchTrac to record in-kind donations.
Yes, somebody in chat was asking, please cover in-kind donations, and it's a good question. That's why we put it in here. For in-kind donations, this is not a ChurchTrac rule or a ChurchTrac method. This is how you have to record in-kind donations, period.
Yeah.
When you enter an in-kind donation, you enter their name just like normal, and for the amount, you enter $0. $0. $0. Always $0. And then in the category, create a category for in-kind donations. That's what this church has. And then in the memo, that's where you can leave a little note about what it was. Like, nice leather couch for the youth group or something.
Yeah, for youth.
Or, canned goods for the food drive or something like, or even like, hey, an electrician at our church rewired a room in the office or something like that for free. That's all how you would record an in-kind donation. Enter it as $0.
Yeah.
I apologize for, I've forgotten who asked this question, so I apologize I forgot your name, but you mentioned that they provided receipts. They keep the receipts.
Yeah.
Because the reason you enter it as $0 in the software is because it's up to the donor to write off the fair market value of that donation when filling out their taxes.
Yeah.
So if they hand you the receipt, say thank you and hand it right back to them. Thank you so much, but you keep this for your records. So that's up to them. You don't retain that. They need to keep that.
Now there are situations, and I don't want to get too deep in the legalities and stuff, but like my church, we had someone ask, hey, can you just provide us how much this piano cost whenever you purchased it and stuff like that. So there's different things, and I'd encourage you reach out to our support team if you do have any questions as you get deeper. But when it comes to entering in-kind donations, just put a $0 amount there and you can enter away and it'll show up in their contribution statement, which is awesome. All right, Matt, we covered the pro tips, we covered setup, we covered online giving, we covered reports and pledges and Oh my, so much.
Oh my.
We are going to answer questions live. And every time we do this, it is wild because we get so many questions. And I just want to remind everybody, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, you won't be able to ask those questions there because we're not monitoring the chat for that. So you need to be in our Vimeo channel here that we're doing this live stream. But we're going to be just answering your questions. So we're going to enable our Q&A
I just
mode.
kicked it off.
There you go. So in this Q&A mode, just start firing off all your questions. And now if you see someone that's already asked a question that you were thinking of asking, all you got to do is just
give it like a thumbs up or an upvote or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's
and it'll promote that question above all the others. So instead of repeating the question, you can just push up someone else's instance of that question.
Yeah, and we're going to sort by most popular because I know as a lot of people start adding all these questions, they're going to fly in. And again, we turned off the chat for now just because we didn't want there to be confusion between like the chat and the Q&A. So yeah, y'all start upvoting, y'all start adding your questions, and we're going to start tearing through them. And while you're putting out your questions there, I just want to encourage everybody, just to remind you, when it comes to getting help with ChurchTrac, the best way is just clicking that help button within the software application. And there you can go to our online user guide and search anything and everything. Maybe you want to learn how to print checks. Maybe you want to learn how to, I don't know, use an iPad, whatever it may be with check-in. Just go ahead, go to our online user guide. And the other thing too is at any time, just create a support ticket and our team will help you out in a jiffy. All right, Matt,
okay.
Lots of questions.
So Jerry, again, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Jerry Gray asked, what benefit does it provide to create a new offering category each year? There's not like a benefit per se. It's not like the right thing to do versus the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
It just makes it easy for you to do your reporting. So like you can select that category and it'll give you the reporting for just that year.
Yeah.
Otherwise you have to like set the date range and then run that report.
Which is still not even really easier. I guess it just comes down to ultimately how you do fundraising too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of churches like to do a new fundraiser for every year, and that fundraiser is based on their just main giving category.
Yeah.
And so that's a pretty common thing I see with churches.
So for pledge campaigns.
Yeah, or churches that really don't give their people an option to give to all these different things. They just have like one main category on online giving and everything they give to, with the occasional love offering and missions and stuff. So yeah.
So Joshua Strader asked, regarding archived contacts, how can you add contributions? It doesn't appear to allow you to add new contributions to members who have previously been archived. Joshua, I actually answered, someone else asked that in the chat, and I answered it in the chat, not in the live stream, so it's great that you asked it now. You have to unarchive them, like restore them from the archive menu to the people screen, record that new donation, and then archive them again. Because you're right. Our system will generate a contribution statement for archived names, but you can't add new contributions to an archived person.
Yeah.
They have to be on the main people screen. So you just go to the archived menu for all those names, restore them, and then run it like normal.
Yeah, and to get there, all you do is go to your people screen, and then you go to view archived names.
Yep.
And so then you can see, oh, this person I want to restore. You select restore. Okay, now they're restored. They're back, ready to go.
All right, so Wes, I'll pass this on to you. How is data backed up? Asked by Brian.
Okay, so we actually have a minivan parked out back where we keep all the, no, I'm kidding. So in terms of how we back up all the data, in ChurchTrac, we have a few different server locations in different geographical areas, which enables us to have the data backed up in different places. So if a catastrophic event ever happened, well, we've got it in multiple places. And we also just create regular backups here at ChurchTrac. So that way, if an event of a server crash or something in which knocked out everything, we have so many fail-safes, it's crazy. Lots of redundancies here at ChurchTrac because your data is important. And I mean, we're talking the data of thousands of churches. So we put a big importance on that.
Super crucial. All right. Funny question. I've never been asked this, but the answer is yes. Vita AG asks, can I change format or font on the giving statement? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Go to the settings. Wes can actually show you. Go to settings, go to admin settings, and then under report settings, one of the very first options is, you can choose the font type and the paper size and some other formatting Unicode.
I looked at Unicode, and I think our developers put that slow in parentheses to really urge people not to use it. I just think it's funny.
And then you can even do some little other formatting, like where the name and address is, and all that stuff. So yeah, you have some control and customization over the reports themselves, the contribution statements.
Yeah.
Demetria, you asked, do we input contributions by Zelle or Cash App? Well, yeah, any contribution, no matter how it's received, you record that on the giving screen. Our system does not integrate with those platforms, and we don't have like a direct import process for those. But you can export donations from those platforms and do a manual import, like from a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Or you can just record them by hand. Let's just say like only 2 or 3 people at your church are using those platforms.
Yeah.
Just record them by hand as if they gave like in cash or a check in person.
Yeah.
So that's how you would record donations from other platforms besides the online giving that we offer.
Now, you got me. I want to get on a micro soapbox. Not a big soapbox, but a little one.
Little one.
So when it comes to, this is something we encounter with a lot of churches that have multiple giving streams. And the mindset behind it is, well, I want to make it as easy for my people to give as possible. And so I'm going to offer every single platform available, so whether it's Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, PayPal, and all these. So that way, if my people want to give, they'll give, and they'll give more. The data behind that actually shows no, it doesn't really increase your giving. There are some happenstances of churches that are like, oh, it increased, but those were not really measurable. It really just comes down to, it creates more complexity for you as you track all your giving, and it also makes it harder for you to protect your church against fraud and embezzlement and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so we really encourage churches to not have too many streams of platforms that you use for your giving. And we would obviously urge you to use ChurchTrac Online Giving for the vast majority of your online giving. And we don't push that because we didn't make money on it, obviously, because we said that earlier, we make $0 on that.
Yep.
But when it just comes down to the simplicity of keeping track of your donations and also just keeping your church protected, not having to monitor all these different platforms, because these platforms do get hacked and everything. And so whenever you have just one platform to keep track of instead of like 6, it's just a lot easier to protect your church. So
perfect.
Anyhow.
All right, Peggy Ann Seward asked how to get a signature/title block on giving statements. That would also be in the settings. So you'd go to settings, admin settings, report settings, and upload that there. All right, so next is Dr. Gina. Does ChurchTrac have an app? The answer is yes. You just go to the Church Connect feature in ChurchTrac, go to the page setup tab at the top, and you'll find the URL for your Connect page. You can also find the QR code under the Actions menu. This is where under QR code that you just share that with your members. It'll take them to your Connect page, and they can add that to their home screen. So that's how they download it onto their phone and start giving online from there too, by setting up an account. Alan Bryce, can giving statements be modified to show through a two-window envelope?
Not that I know of.
No, yeah.
Reach out to our support team.
Yeah. Thank you very much for that question, Alan. Richard, do you close contribution and account for year end to get ready for 2025 entries? No. There's no closing and opening. You just record donations. And when you generate that report, you set the date range for the report. So that's how you cap off and make sure reports don't show past data. So that's how you do that. You don't need to open and close accounts in ChurchTrac, either on the giving screen or accounting screen. That's how our system is simplified for that. Chad Morris JC3 at gmail.com says, topic pledge screen. Would you suggest or can you use pledges not just for raising funds towards a goal, but to track individuals for a trip? Thus it would show what she owes and what she has paid. Yeah,
100%.
Absolutely. That's a great use case for the pledge campaign, just to make sure that someone has raised enough money to do XYZ at your church or for an event or something like that.
Well, and this just is, I don't want to get too deep in it, but this is part of the reason we have the feature in the online giving tab where you can have a specific QR code and link for a specific category. And so let's say you've got 20 kids at your church that are going on a mission trip. You can create a category for every single one of them.
Yeah, have like a parent category for it and then subcategories for each kid.
Yeah. And then from there, when people go to donate, they can select that particular person, or you just tell each one of those kids that are raising money for their mission trip, here's your link.
Here's your QR code.
Give this to all your family, give it to your friends, have them click that link, and that way it just simplifies the process of them fundraising for their mission trip or whatever it may be. Yeah. all built in.
So Chad Morris, thanks for that question. Lynette Witten, can you attach a letter to the email contribution statements? Well, yeah, actually you can. If you click close, settings, it's not like a letter per se, but under that report settings, and we keep going back to report settings.
I know, yeah.
Go to report settings, and then contribution statement footer, email body, there it is. So contribution statement email body, you can actually have the email customized there. So it's not necessarily a cover letter, but you can at least customize that part of it.
Yeah.
Gene Fout said, best way to track QCD contributions. That's actually a question that I'm not going to get into detail on. Reach out to our support team.
Yeah.
I think we even have a blog post that covers that.
We have a blog, but reach out to our support team and they can give you more direction. And there's a lot of legalities involved with that. So you definitely want to talk to the people that know this stuff well. And I don't want to be giving sweeping information online to everybody on that topic.
We don't want to misspeak, and also it's detailed, so we don't have enough time to cover that. Linnell Rodriguez asked, most folks donate via Zelle. Can I import the bank statements?
In the accounting screen, you can.
On the accounting screen, yes. But for donations,
but not, yeah.
Again, if they give by Zelle, you can either import those contributions or like do an import from a spreadsheet or just record them manually as if they gave by check or cash in person.
Yeah.
Cabra Benford, can you show us again how to import from Giveify and Cash App? Will it go to the correct person as well? Yeah, so you just go to the giving, and whenever you're in the batch where, you're just in this batch, click the actions button, then click the import contributions button. You have to, in the platform where people donated, you have to export that information into a spreadsheet. Then you can drag and drop that spreadsheet or that CSV file into this window where Wes is showing you now. There's a list of a few different providers that our system can automatically read. If you don't see the platform, like Zelle, for instance, or Cash App, just do the manual option, and we have some instructions linked at the top in that Our Instructions link there on how to format that spreadsheet in order for our system to be able to read that. So just make sure you check that first.
Yeah, whole article that explains like what needs to be in what column and everything, so that way it imports properly.
All right, Pastor Matt from Freedom 51 in Connecticut asked, is there a way to have the individual contribution statement print the donor name with first name, last name? No, our system prints those from the formal name field in ChurchTrac, in the people screen. So it pulls from that field to put that name there.
Yeah, so you want to make sure you edit that field for your people to reflect what you want it to be if you're doing a family statement. Yeah. And so I have Ableton, John and Jamie. Formal greeting is where it pulls that. So Mr. and Mrs. John Ableton. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jacqueline asked, how do I get a type of giving tab? I'm not sure I understand that question.
So
Jacqueline.
In the giving type, it's an admin setting, and that's going to be under screen options and then the giving screen. And I think you're referring to show the giving type selection box, cash, check, etc. By default, that should be on, but if somehow it got turned off, perhaps just turn that on. You'll be ready to go. Okay. And these are some other options, by the way, too, for those of you who are wanting to get deep into giving today. Just make sure you know about showing the envelope number, member field, stuff like that. Hide expense categories on the giving screen, just some other options there.
So Stephanie asked, in-kind giving, our tech company gives us a $300 discount each month. Do I still enter this as $0 or the $300?
Reach out to our support team on that one, Stephanie.
Yeah. Because an in-kind donation is like a tangible non-money donation. So if you're giving $300, that would be recorded as a $300 donation. But if there's some other nuances to it, reach out to the support team for the details on that.
Well, and if you're getting something as a church for donation, that is no longer a donation. And I don't know the specifics of that, so obviously I don't know the full story there, Stephanie. But as a rule of thumb, if your church is receiving something, if that person is receiving something for a donation, if there's like a transaction going on, then that's technically no longer
correct
a giving situation.
June Daniels asks, do we have givers that do not attend services? Can we archive them and still add donations? Like we mentioned earlier, once you archive them, you can't record any new donations for that person. You would have to unarchive them. So yes, you can archive them and unarchive them, or just keep them on the people screen and continue recording donations for them.
All right, Anonymous says, is there going to be a giveaway? And this is such a perfect time to announce it. Yes, there's going to be a giveaway. I always have to remember, what camera am I looking at? I'm looking at this one. All right, so for
no, he just switched to that one right when you said that, and now he's back here again. He's
yes, so we are doing a giveaway. Am I going to look at this one now? Now David's just messing with me at this point. We're going to do a giveaway today. Am I going to give away a mug? Am I going to give away a ChurchTrac subscription for the entire year? I don't know. We'll see how I'm feeling. So here's what you can do to be eligible. Send an email right now to weston@churchtrac.com. That's my email. Please don't email me for support stuff. I'm not going to see your email for a while because I don't check it but twice a day, and I can't get that many emails coming in. But send me an email, weston@churchtrac.com, and I want you to give me two things in this email. First, I want you to tell me what you liked about this live stream today. Not that I need words of affirmation, but I like to hear it because we like to know what we're doing well. And I want you to also share with me one thing you thought we could have done better, or one thing you didn't like. That way it just helps make these live streams better. And I'm going to have you, Matt, pick one of these emails at random that come in today, and that's going to be our winner. And maybe I'll pick two. Maybe we'll pick three. I don't know. I'll let you decide if you want to pick multiple emails, and we'll give some giveaways.
I decide right now. We're picking multiple.
Okay, we're going to pick multiple. So that's how you do it. Just send me an email, weston@churchtrac.com. If you're watching this in the future, obviously it's after the fact. You won't be able to win, but you can always reach out to our support team and just say, hey, and maybe
Can I be a part of the giveaway? No, but we love you anyway.
Yeah, we still love you. Thanks for that. Yeah, I was literally just about to put that in to pause you, Matt, so it's kind of funny that one popped up there.
Desmond, do we have to report giving to IRS for every individual for tax purposes? No, you're not. You don't report that to the IRS. You give that statement to your members. You just hold that data for, I think it's 5 years is what the IRS recommends, just in case you ever get audited. So for the most part, you're not reporting anything to the IRS. You're just retaining that data yourself, and then if you're ever audited, you can submit that to them. But reach out to the support team for any other information or nuances on that in case I misspoke. Ray, how do I add yearly categories such as 2025 giving? Ray, you just go to the categories tab on the giving and pledges screen. Click the add button at the very top and enter that information. Like Wes did earlier, he actually not only created a 2025 giving category as just a quick demonstration, but even folded it under the main general offerings parent category. So he made it a subcategory. So that's how you would do that. You would just create that category, and in that little subcategory of field on the right, select the parent category you want it to be a part of.
Yep.
Jerry confirmed that his name is pronounced Jerry. Perfect. All right, I feel like I'm in Parks and Rec right now.
I was literally just about to say that.
Jerry, Larry. All right, Genevieve, how to modify the template for giving statement, like adding church logo. That's done in the report settings. Go to settings, admin settings, report settings, and just upload a file there for your church's logo. Ruth Amundsen. If you archive a person, what do you do if they return later and give again and then disappear? We've covered that already.
Yeah,
you just unarchive them and record new donations and archive them again. Tammy, we don't use yearly categories like 2025 general offerings. How does this help? Okay, we've covered that as well. Laura, can you view a list of emails sent for contributions before they are sent?
Not at this time.
Not at this time, no. What you can do, though, is this is kind of getting in the weeds, but you can create a smart list that will show you a list of everyone that has an email address on file. So you can use your smart list for that, but you can't generate a report for that. It'll just show you a list of on the people screen. But that's kind of it. For the most part, you just generate that. You go ahead and send that email, and our system will give you a report to show you who received it, who didn't, and then you can sort that out from there. Andrea, if you have a donor that gave a check and cash, is there a way to record both without having to add the person twice? Actually, that's a good question. No, you would have to create two separate entries for that. Because if they gave by cash and then gave by card, because there's the giving types, that's what she's getting at.
Yes, that is correct.
And you can only select that for the entire donation, not for each line item. So yes, you would have to enter that person's cash donation, hit add, and then enter that person's check donation and hit add. But it's not going to mess up your reporting or even show up any different on the ledger of all the donations that day, because it's just going to be 2 different line items like it would be anyway. Jennifer, does a church need to give a giving report to every member that has donated during the year, or only to those who requested a report? This is the funny thing, Jennifer. There are some nuances regarding what churches are required to do. Really, the only time you have to generate a statement is if the donation is greater than $250, like any single donation is greater than $250, or if there's like a quid pro quo donation that exceeds $75 in amount. That's kind of the only time you have to do that. Otherwise, it's up to the donor to collect that from you, and there's no penalty to the church to not produce that statement. Really, we recommend churches do it anyway, just for their own records and for transparency and accountability, and so that the members see that you're recording donations properly, and it also inspires them to give more. So there's lots of reasons to do it, even though there's no legal repercussions for not.
That's honestly the biggest reason for giving statements, if we're being honest. And I had this conversation with a pastor who was just like, I mean, let's be honest. Most people don't go above that threshold for the IRS where giving over a certain amount is actually going to help them on their taxes. So what's the point, Wes? And I was like, well, the point is by communicating with your people how much they've given, where they're giving to, first you're showing that you as a church are capable of being trusted with funds because you know where these things are going and you're dispersing them as you should be and stuff. But number 2, it encourages people to donate more because they see, oh, this is how much I've donated. Very rarely do you talk to someone that looks at their giving statement for the year and says, I gave too much to my church this year. I mean, have you ever heard that?
No, I've never personally heard that.
And I've talked to a lot of pastors over the years that have also told that to me, Matt, where when they give people giving statements, that oftentimes encourages to give more. That's why some churches, and your church may be practicing this. Shoot me an email, let me know if your church is doing this, where you do more than just an annual giving statement, for January sent out, but maybe you do twice a year, where you just kind of let your people know halfway through the year, hey, this is how much you've donated so far. Not to make them feel bad or anything, but just to keep them in the loop. That's something that a lot of churches do. So.
Bill Caldwell, thank you so much for asking this question. This is really crucial. Do you recommend entering deposits from giving rather than from the bank statements and accounting? And the answer is yes. Deposit from the giving screen always. Don't rely on the statement from the bank. And the reason why is because the bank doesn't know or care what people gave to, like the categories.
Yes.
It just gives you a total.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
So if you deposit it from the giving screen, that deposit will retain all the categories you entered in that batch, which will then filter into your budget. So you'll know, like I mentioned earlier, you'll know where you stand in your different ministries and programs at your church, not just by looking at the budget, but in the reports too. You need the category information attached to all the donations in the accounting screen. The bank isn't going to give that to you. So if you've done bank sync, whenever the transaction comes in, just skip that transaction. Don't let that import into your accounting screen. Use the giving screen for that information always.
All right, Matt, so we've entered a point where we are going on 1 hour and 3 minutes that we've been doing this. And I know we're going to start seeing a lot of people fall off because, let's be honest, it's Wednesday. Many of you got things to do, or some of you may be on your lunch break as you watch this. And so, first of all, I just want to thank everyone who has joined us today. Thank you for joining. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you decided to hang out here with us and learn more about giving in ChurchTrac and tracking it, generating your statements and all those things. We have an accounting live stream that we're doing next week. You're going to get an email automatically about this later today, but you're also going to get another one probably tomorrow, and it'll be in the application itself where you can join that live stream for next week as we talk about accounting.
Can't I share I got the link.
Yeah, and you can share it in the chat. So the chat is open there just so Matt can drop that in and everything. Don't get the chat confused with Q&A though, because we still have some questions we're going to answer. Now I'm just going to go ahead and apologize to some of you who put your questions in here. We are not going to be able to get to all these questions.
There's 60 more questions
There's
to go.
still
and we've
60.
only done 30 in this time.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to try to do as many questions as we can. Lightning round, and as quickly as we can. And then at some time and point, we're just going to have to say, sorry, we answered as many as we could in this time period. But here's what I want you to do. If we did not answer your question, all you have to do is go to ChurchTrac support, create a support ticket and ask the question, and you're going to get a response in about 1 business hour. Our team is amazingly fast. Even at the busiest time of year, this is the busiest time of the year here at ChurchTrac when it comes to support, we're still answering tickets in a very timely fashion. So if you have a question that we don't address today, just reach out to us via support. Okay, Matt, super fast.
Lightning round, here we go. Songhai, with giving statements, can you generate by a specific amount received throughout the year? Yes, under the reports tab, when generating a statement, you can choose the threshold by which our system will generate statements for only people that donated more than that amount. Lewis, we're interested in online giving but have never explored it. How do those contributions show up in ChurchTrac? Are they automatically added as an individual transaction on the giving screen? Or are they batched together in one date? They are batched. All online donations given on the same day are batched together in one batch, but it will be a separate batch from the in-person donations that you enter yourself. That's the only thing. So they will be batched together, but separate from the in-person stuff.
Misty, go to our online user guide. We have an article and a video there. It'll show you exactly how to email contribution statements.
Bernadette, in creating a deposit, there are 2 accounts. So if some of the giving goes to, you can split the deposit across different donations or different accounts, and when you do that from the giving screen.
Stephanie, you're talking about accounting. Reach out to our support team.
Yes, perfect. Para Smith, very important. I do not transfer anything when notating Zelle, Cash App, donations. I just notated in the memo it was given by Zelle. Is that okay? Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Using the memo line for that is perfectly legitimate.
Corrine, email me, weston@churchtrac.com. And for those of you who didn't hear earlier, we're going to do a little giveaway, and we're going to pick a couple people at random. Just email me, weston@churchtrac.com, and just tell me what you liked about today's live stream and how you think we could have made today's live stream better. And please don't say use someone else that's not Weston and Matt, because that would be mean.
Yes, and Ron asked, is it Weston with an I or Weston with an O? It's Weston with an O.
Yeah, the right way to spell Weston.
Anonymous, Stripe has said that ACH is giving is 0.8% for nonprofits and not 25%. Can you explain this variance? The explanation is we've negotiated that. If there's any discrepancy, let us know, and
immediately.
Let us know immediately. We will help you out with that. Elizabeth, why no create deposit on our action list? Reach out to the support team. There could be a few different reasons, and we'll investigate that. Gerard, is there a way to enter dates without doing it one day at a time? No, whenever you're entering contributions, you're doing it in one batch.
For that day.
When you do an import, our system will split that up across multiple, like it'll batch that out for you. But you doing it yourself, it's only one batch at a time. Matthew, in accounting, I made up a dollar amount to start a bank account to play around. How can I change the original amount for a bank account to reflect my first amount? You can edit that transaction. It'll be reconciled already, but you can unreconcile that and edit that, or you can delete that and start over. Those are the 2 ways to do that.
Zanita, reach out to our support team on this one. There could be a couple things going on, so I just want them to talk to you personally for that.
Yeah. Sharon Slaughter, does church tea? Oh, forgot to finish that one. Susie Cooper, small church, can I put the contribution statement on a flash drive to take to the church to print out? Well, this is in the cloud, so you can access the account from the church and then print it out there instead of doing the flash drive and taking it over. And
that file is a big PDF, so then you can just put that PDF on your flash drive if you want to do that, or if you just want to email it to yourself. But I would stress probably the flash drive, just because even though email is relatively secure for your purposes still.
Yeah. So Susie, you can put it on a flash drive, or you can just access it from the church. D, can you add a due date to accounts payable invoices?
That's accounting.
That's accounting.
Support team.
Sandra, can the admin settings move the message to the bottom of the page and also change positions of address for window envelopes on contribution sheets? No. You can. I think you can move the address a little bit, but that's it. You can't move where the header message is. Angelina, is there a function to upload a budget? Not upload, but there is a budget feature in the accounting screen that you can customize. Yeah, and I love the cloning feature on budgets, by the way, but we'll talk more about that next week. Talk about that. Sharon Slaughter, does ChurchTrac archive automatically, or do we have to do it manually? Manually. You have to do it manually. Yep. Father David, what do we do with retained earnings from the previous year? That's accounting. But nothing is really the answer. It's just there. Parks and Rec for the win, Jerry.
Yeah.
All right. Para, accounting-wise, why do we have to put batches in deposit? Plus I finished, because you recorded on the giving screen. It needs to then be moved to the accounting screen. It's not done automatically just because we don't want to do it automatically until you're sure everything is correct. So you have to do that manually. Dora Sullivan, can members review their own giving record in ChurchTrac and not see other members' information? Yes. So in Church Connect, the app for members, they see the giving history and giving info for them and their family, and that's it. It's not, they're not able to see anybody else's. When emailing contribution statements, can you review or edit the recipients before sending? No. What happens if my plan is for 500 people and I reach that limit? Am I preventing from adding any more? Correct. Yes, it is a hard limit. What will happen is when you try to add more, you'll see a little pop-up window with an option to upgrade your names. That's how you move to the next level. Frank, I group members of households as family, but they give individually. Is there a way to run contribution statements without switching to individual? Should I separate individual givers as a separate family, especially when emailing reports? Reach out to the support team for your exact situation. Chances are you do need to separate them as individuals in the system and not have them grouped together by family, but it just depends. So reach out.
Yeah.
Jerry, we already answered that. Jim said, who hosts the church URL with Church Connect?
We host it.
We host it.
ChurchTrac, yeah.
Yep.
And by the way, this just a little shout out. If you don't have a website or you're tired of paying a bunch of money for your existing website, we do church websites. Church Connect, that's what it is. It's a church website, it's a church app. It's built into ChurchTrac. You're already paying for it if you're on the standard or plus plan on ChurchTrac. And so definitely build your webpage today. You can start today. You can have a website on ChurchTrac today.
Right. Para, can I also do 1099s in ChurchTrac?
Nope.
No, we're not a payroll software. Doris Sullivan, can members review, we already answered that. Sandra, contribution sheets for deleted persons, not deleted persons, only archived persons.
All right, last question, Matt, and then we have got to go. And again, I apologize. It's not that we didn't answer any of your questions because we didn't like the questions. We were just trying to answer all the ones that were the most popular that most people were also asking themselves. Just reach out to our support team and we'll answer your question. We didn't get to it. Last question, go.
Lynette Witten, contribution statement email body has 512 character limit. Can this be increased? No, not right now.
All right.
That's it.
That's it. That is all the questions. Holy smokes, Matt. I think we just answered 59 questions. Do one more so we can just say we did 60.
All right. Stephanie, when I deposited my batches, they show up on my bank account registry. This made a duplicate deposit to my bank statement that was synced. Is this supposed to happen? If not, how do I stop this from continuing? Like I mentioned earlier, from the bank, whenever you're reviewing the transactions from the bank, just skip the deposit. Skip that transaction from the donations. That way you can have it from the giving screen without it duplicating. Because you're correct, that would duplicate that entry and throw off all of your balances.
All right, well that was a lot of fun, Matt.
That was so much fun. I'm dropping links for the Facebook group again and the YouTube channel again into the chat just to make sure. Go ahead and click on those links. Join our Facebook group, subscribe to the YouTube channel, please. We would love to see you in both of those communities so that you can get the help that you need.
Yeah, and we're doing another live stream next week on accounting, and this is the time of year we're doing a live stream on every big core feature of ChurchTrac, so like accounting, Church Connect, events, worship planning, and so much more. We're doing those every Wednesday for the next couple of months, so just be on the lookout in your email. In the application itself in ChurchTrac, you'll see links to where you can sign up for these live streams. And also, if you're new to ChurchTrac, we do weekly Getting Started live streams. We do them a couple times a week during this busy time of year just because so many people are coming on board with ChurchTrac, learning all the things. And typically, myself or Matt, we host those, have a lot of fun doing them. A much smaller crowd. It's not like 300-400 people like we did today. Those are a smaller crowd of a couple dozen people where we just work with you and your church and help you utilize the software well. So if you're new, make sure you join on in one of those. We cover all kinds of stuff in there and so much more. All right, Matt. Well, this was fun, but I am hungry. It's time to go. They're ready to go. You all have a fantastic rest of your day. See ya.